Welcome, everyone. Today I have a special guest, Chris from VOI Network. Welcome, Chris.
Well, thanks so much for letting me be here talking to me today.
Sure. Chris, you had an impressive journey with the blockchain space from your evolving Algorand ecosystem and co-founding Reach and Humble DeFi to now building your own chain with VOI. So before we dive into VOI itself, could you walk us through maybe your previous experience, particularly your work with Algorand or maybe even earlier, if there is anything relevant? How did your journey into crypto started?
Yeah. So I started as a software engineer 24 years ago, so a long time ago, of course, in the Web2 space because blockchain didn't exist. I was a software engineer for quite a long time. And then in about like 2013, one of my friends approached me, showed me Bitcoin. I thought it was really cool. I started collecting it then, but that Bitcoin itself didn't really grab me. It wasn't something that I was like, oh, this is gonna be the best thing. I thought it was really cool, and I thought there's tons of potential for it. But it took until about 2015 for me to really understand the potential of what blockchain could be, with the idea of the world computer. This is when Ethereum came out with the idea that it's not just decentralized currency, but it's actually decentralized defense. And that's when my being a software engineer started getting really excited. So at that point, I was running a software development shop, and we were building mostly Web2 things, but anytime that there's any downtime, I'd have one of my developers build something with Ethereum to figure out what it could do, what were the limitations, and all of that. And then in 2017, I had another friend approach me with the idea on how to scale blockchain in a blockchain agnostic way. This is during the crypto kitty phase, when people are like, oh, blockchain can't handle the masses, it needs to be able to scale. So we're like, okay, we're going to do that. So I jumped in with both feet. I sold off my development services company and started actually running companies in blockchain. The first scaling solution didn't end up working out. There's a disagreement between myself and my co-founder, and also I was becoming friends with the guys Off-Chain Labs, which is now Arbitrum, and then Polygon, and saw that they were actually doing a lot of really good stuff with scaling. And at that point, I thought, like, okay, so scaling is a problem, but I think that there's a problem even closer to the developer, that it's just too difficult to build applications. So at that point, partnered with my current co-founder with Reach, Jay, to build out a blockchain development platform that is its own programming language, compiler, deployment tools, everything to kind of like raise the level of abstraction of blockchain development to make it easier to build applications. During this time, there were some needs that we saw. So we actually launched Humble, which is a recently acquired Pact, as a decentralized exchange. And I haven't actually been involved with that in about a year and a half now, give or take, maybe 2 years actually. And it's been ran by Andrew, but I saw there was a need in the market for a decentralized exchange, so we launched that, and that's still going fine. And then, like I said, most recently, focused on VOI and tackling one of the biggest issues in blockchain, in my opinion.
Okay, that's interesting. So what actually inspired you to launch VOI? And I mean, what are the biggest issues in the blockchain space? So why VOI? I know, like, you are, maybe you can discuss this later. You've taken the code of Algorand, and like that's a base for VOI. I'm just curious, like, if there were any changes introduced. And basically, let's maybe start with the vision behind VOI. So what problems are you solving?
Yeah. So I've, like I said, I've been in crypto for a very long time. And I got into crypto because of the fundamental reasons of decentralization, cutting out the middleman, and making sure that people can actually interact with other people without a entity standing them in between, and just like the fundamentals of blockchain, right? And in 2022, I kind of had a chance to actually look around and say, okay, I've been in blockchain for a long time, but it's not where I thought it would be. I thought it would be mainstream by now. It's been doing this for a long, long time, but it's not. What are like the major problems that nobody is talking about? Yes, a lot of people are talking about the UX issues and things like that, but that's what everybody's. What are the issues that nobody's talking about? So I started looking into what are the fundamental problems with blockchain in general, blockchains. And the one that actually really stood out to me, and the more I dug into it, I saw it was actually a much bigger problem, is the lack of distribution of the actual ownership of the tokens. And what I mean by that, if you look at the major blockchains of the world, 70 to 90% of all tokens are held by 1% of the wallets. And those 1% of the wallets are the early investors, early stakeholders, and they were just holding them or trying to dump them if the things weren't going well. And the big problem with this is that I believe, and I think a lot of people believe, that the true value of a blockchain is not who the early investors were or early stakeholders. It's the ecosystem. It's the who's actually building on top of it, who's using it, who's talking about it. The actual community, the ecosystem itself, is the value of a blockchain. Now, if the ecosystem, the people building on top, the people shilling it, all of that, don't actually own the majority of the blockchain, what happens is it forces those individuals, the ecosystem, which is the value, to be mercenarial. They have to siphon value from the chain to be able to survive. And once that value is then gone, they then have to leave to be able to keep on feeding their families. And not only that, but those early investors, those early stakeholders, aren't actually adding any value anymore. They put in money early, and now they're just waiting back for hopefully the ecosystem takeover. So what this has created, because of game theory, is that best case scenario, the tech is amazing, and it forces the ecosystem to what I call pay off bad debt of the early stakeholders, because they have to buy tokens from them to have some tokens in the game. But there really is no reason that they have to do that, because all of that money that was put in early by the investors and the early stakeholders was put into open source technology. And being a software engineer for a very long time, open source technology is made to be reshared. You look at React, you look at all of these frameworks to build things on top of that are free and open source, and really have actually been a good thing. And I believe, and after doing a lot of thinking on this, is that when 2022 came around, I was like, I believe that in 5 to 10 years, every major blockchain that is actually good technology will be reset by its ecosystem, by its community, because they are all the value, they are doing everything, and it is actually cheaper for them to stand up a new network than build on the existing network, because they are all of the value. There is no, it is not beneficial to actually pay off those early investors because they're not adding any value anymore. So that was the major inspiration of how can we get out in front of this? How can we actually align incentives with the true value of blockchain? And that's where the VOI journey started.
Okay, so that's interesting, and for sure, like going to a web page, it is stating everywhere built by you, run by you, owned by you. So maybe you could touch like what mechanism or strategies have you implemented to guarantee that the community really has a genuine control and stake in the network and that in governance and everything. So that would be interesting part.
Gotcha. So the first thing that was the no-brainer was to take 75% of the entire market cap and put it into a treasury for the ecosystem. So take the large percentage of it and say, okay, this percentage of the ecosystem. But that's not enough. A lot of blockchains out there say that they reserve 25% or 35% or whatever. So not only do we want to make more, what they did is that they say it's for the ecosystem, but then it's a foundation that decides what ecosystem means. And they're very loose with what ecosystem means. I mean, a advertisement on a stadium somewhere is ecosystem growth. You know what I mean? Like that's it. It feels like it's bad decisions had. So the second thing we wanted to do is make sure that we built a governance system that actually puts the community in charge of that 75%. And so what we did is we built a tripartite system where we have judicial, we have legislative, and then we have executive. The executive is what normal people would think is the foundation, but it's a very thin foundation. It's a single individual for regulation reasons to be able to actually approve movement of tokens of that 75%. But they can't actually decide where they go. Where tokens are actually, decided to actually move is through the legislative, and that is made up by community members, elected in by the community, and their power is delegated to them by people staking on the network. So this makes it so that the community truly does, through a proposal system, be able to decide where that 75% goes. And then judicial, their job is to purely make sure that people are following the rules, conflicts are resolved, and making sure everybody's swimming in the same direction. So building a governance system that borrowing from many different governments all around the world, but bringing it up to speed with blockchain technology to make sure that the community, the people hold the tokens, have the decision of where all of the tokens actually end up going of that 75%. So that's like really the big start. So I'll stop there if you have any questions.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I mean, obviously you have forked the blockchain, so you obviously didn't have to spend a lot of money building your chain, right? So that's easier to do, I guess. On the other hand, let me maybe come back to this Algorand part. So I mean, is a blockchain like in the technical side? Did you change anything, or is just a one-to-one copy, more or less? Because I assume that there must have been some changes on the way through tested to mainnet.
So to actually answer that, there has been a few changes, but we've always believed in actually pushing the changes. There's small changes, pushing back to the main repo, because it's open source technology. We believe that making the actual open source technology better is better for everybody. I think one of the things that your viewers and you, I'd like to clarify a little bit is the question of like, what is a blockchain? Now, blockchain is, a lot of people think about when talking about blockchain, they think about the technology. How fast is the TPS? How fast, all of the numbers to throw out. But the truth is that is not blockchain. That is the technology behind blockchain. What blockchain is that combined with the people building on top and what they are building. And so rather than VOI deciding to raise $100 million to hire the smartest people in the world to build new underlying technology, the smarter move is to actually take existing technology that is done really well and focus more on the other things. Rather than actually focus on the technology itself, focus on which markets you go after, focus on how to focus on the economics, how to actually incentivize people to build on top of, make sure that they feel like they are the owners of the chain itself. because one of the things that I believe that makes blockchain special, and this is what interested me in Bitcoin originally, is that it doesn't require a single entity to stand in between. That the largest value of any blockchain out there is are the people using it. And if you're not incentivizing that portion more than the technology that is free and open source, you have misaligned incentives. So the idea with VOI is not to build brand new, exciting core technology. It's to actually use the existing technology that's out there and go a little bit even further. And this is actually something that we don't talk about a lot because it can get a little bit confusing, is that VOI isn't necessarily a blockchain. We say that we're a blockchain because it's easier to explain what it is, but VOI is an ecosystem of blockchains. And the reason why that there's actually a difference here is that we believe the technology doesn't matter to the end user. As long as it can do what it needs to do, the technology is the least important part. It's the products built on top, and not only that, but aligning the token with the actual ecosystem rather than the actual technology itself allows for VOI to launch multiple blockchains underneath the VOI ecosystem umbrella. We started with Algorand because we believe that Algorand technology is amazing technology. Like I've been using it for a very long time. I love it. But that being said, VOI will be more than just Algorand blockchain. We'll most likely launch an EVM chain next, and then we will then launch a decentralized layer 0 to connect them all and build like I said, an ecosystem of blockchains and make sure that the economics are supporting the actual growth on top rather than tying it to any individual technology underneath.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, those future plans for sure. That's something we can digest later on as well. Coming back to maybe to this incentives to the community, I understand that probably, I mean, the way from testnet to mainnet, there must have been some incentives for community to contribute at the early stages, right? Maybe you could talk about like this way through. How long did it actually take you to rank them? The mainnet went live like middle of September or something like that. And you were in testnet for several months or a year. So maybe a bit about the journey from like, the concept, testnet to mainnet, and how at this stage you encourage community to participate already.
Yeah. So the way that actually encourage the community to participate is actually give real ownership and control. I think people completely underestimate the power of that. When you make sure that you have a good mission, that you have a real plan to make sure that the people participating have control in the direction they go, you don't need to throw incentives at them just to participate because they believe in the project. So we started almost 2 years ago at this point. So December of 2022 is when the idea of VOI started. It took a while. I believe October of last year is when the first phase of the incentivized testnet started. And the first phase was kind of focused on what I call like the missionaries, the people that truly believe in the mission. This is like mostly developers, mostly like NFT creators. This is node runners that truly believe in the actual mission. We didn't do a lot of marketing. We didn't actually make a lot of noise, but we made sure that we had that strong core belief through. And through that, we got multiple AMMs, multiple wallets, multiple NFT products where you have a launchpad, a marketplace. We created new primitives, so like a new NFT primitive, new token primitive, and just a lot of actually building. And we did a thing called the NFT Wars, where we onboarded a bunch of NFT creators, and this was all during phase one. And then at the end of phase one, and they were all incentivized through doing those things. And then phase two was more of the casting the wider net. It's time to make more noise, bring in more people that might be interested in the mission, but we're more so just making a lot of noise. And at this point, this is when our node count went above 4,000. We had over 4,000 nodes running the testnet all over the world, and extremely decentralized to the point of like like our Nakamoto coefficient was, I think, third best blockchain in the world. How decentralized our testnet actually is. And we partnered with CoinList for the testnet marketing. We brought in some like marketing help to actually make a lot more noise, and yeah, it's all through. And at the end of the day, what we did is we created a airdrop incentive. I believe it was 1.5% of the market cap for phase 1 and 1% of the market cap for phase 2. Don't hold me to that, but that's what I think what the numbers were. But the fun part is that at the end, we gave everybody the option to lock in their airdrop for potentially extra tokens. And 2/3 of the entire airdrop locked in their tokens for 5 years. So this shows you how much the actual community believes in VOI's mission, that they locked in for as long as they possibly could. And then now they're along for the ride. One of the things that we did actually in phase 1, which was really fun and we learned a lot from, is we created a governance, just a community that they decided where most of the tokens got distributed to, most of their airdrops got to it. And at this entire path, me and the rest of the core team of VOI, we've been trying to actually like take a step back and let the actual community kind of drive the direction of it. And all we really do is provide help and kind of guide where we believe that things should go. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we have such a strong community at this point.
Okay, excellent. So you've mentioned like this several percent went to the airdrop, and in general, the community pool is the treasury 75%. So like the remaining part is yet to be used in the future, or okay, so
so the 75% of communities, that's it's divided into actually buckets of different emissions and different lock periods, because we didn't want the community-led governance to just distribute all of the tokens in the first couple weeks. But the whole idea is that the rest of the treasury will be able to be distributed over the next 20 plus years. Okay,
so that's a long horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe so 75% of our with the economics is with the community. So where does the remaining 25% goes to? If we can break down this as well.
Yeah, so the 25%, the other 25%, 10% of it went to the core team. So like myself, the other 3 other co-founders, and then we have a chunk for future employees of the core team. And then 15% partially went into actually investment, because you can't start a blockchain without actual money. So we ended up actually launching this blockchain with getting less than 2% of the entire market cap given out for an investment. And not only that, but those investors are locked in for a very long time. And then the remaining piece is also it's going to be used for future investment, and then future investment back into the actual chain itself. So that's kind of like what the remaining 15% of the 25% will be going to.
Okay, interesting. We may also talk a bit like the nodes. You already mentioned like you have amazing number of 4,000 nodes.
So on mainnet we did lose some. I believe we're around 1,500 at this point, but I'd have to look at the latest. But it's pretty good, still really good amount of nodes for being around for less than a week.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot. So, I mean, are you tracking like how many node operators are running those nodes? I mean, because you may have like many nodes, but how many operators are there? It's
impossible to know how many individuals are running, because you don't know, but there is literally zero incentive to run more than one node. So if anybody's running more than one node, they're increasing their cost without getting any more reward. So I doubt anybody is actually, I mean, people shouldn't be running more than one node at this point.
Okay, yeah, but that's actually interesting because, I'm sure you are aware, Algorand is soon to be upgraded to this gossip network where node providers will be encouraged to participate in the consensus with the rewards, right? So I understand. Are you kind of dependent on that change, or you have kind of done it on yourself?
We built our own incentive model. We're actually rewarding block rewards, and we've actually rewarded block rewards all the way since our testnet. So we're doing it differently than the way that Algorand is doing it, mainly because we wanted some more flexibility. Because I worry about the protocol specific way that Algorand is doing it, is that it's going to be hard to actually bootstrap the rewards from zero, mainly because of how, for actually safety reasons, that you can actually stall the actual blockchain if you have more than 20, let's call them around 22 to 25% of the actual chain. You have the ability to actually stall the blockchain. So when you're actually bootstrapping and getting things going, you want to actually have a larger percent of the chain towards a much more known, understandable node running people, but you don't want to be there forever. So it's like you want actually to have a lot, let people actually connect, let the network be more stable, and then you want to back that down. The problem is that the way that we're doing it, we are the large percentage for stability reasons aren't going to be actually earn any block rewards. And what we are doing is different than Algorand. Algorand is taking the block rewards that large 80% would actually own, and they're just putting it back into the block reward pool. We are going to split it to the people that did produce blocks in that period of time. So that this has the ability to still incentivize people producing blocks from early on, and it allows us to be able to actually bootstrap it better in our.
Okay, that's interesting. I've watched the interview you've done for Recoup. I think it was 1 year ago. So at that stage, I understood that you would be implementing the same change that Algorand is working on. But I understand you've chosen different path on the way.
Yeah, it took too long. The direction that they actually went is still, they're still not released yet, and we can't just wait around for everything. But yeah, so like I think what you're actually referring to is that we will get those changes when they are rolled out, because we will just adopt all of the changes that Algorand builds in. But that's just one of the features that we don't really care about, because we figure out a different solution around it. I'm really excited for the new peer-to-peer network changes that are coming though, where it makes that the relay networks themselves not mandatory, which I'm really excited about.
Okay, sure. So maybe in terms of like most desired use cases for your blockchain, is it like, are you targeting any particular niche for what kind of decentralized applications are well suited for VOI versus, are you trying to just address any specific part of the market, or whoever comes with building something?
So when you build a blockchain, you can't jump to the mainstream user. You have to actually first establish the infrastructure, establish the low-level applications like decentralized exchanges, wallets, and establish the actual economics, establish community. So that in the near term, what we're actually focusing on is attracting community members that want to roll up their sleeves and put in the hard work. Like what I like to call VOI is, it's the blue-collar blockchain, because it's made of people that want to put in the hard work, that are actually making the blockchain move. So that's what our focus is in the near term. I personally believe that when it does come time to start going for the mainstream, that the huge opportunity is in the membership infrastructure and loyalty space, loyalty point space in the industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that blockchain can actually provide a lot of benefits to smaller industries that big industries like credit cards and airlines have been actually having for a long time, but because they are so large, they can afford it. blockchain can actually take a lot of that benefit and put it in the hands of smaller industries like restaurants and gyms and things like that. And I believe that that's a great place for really pushing our marketing to the mainstream. So that's kind of where I would say that you want to start like asking which mainstream market, that one I think has the most opportunity. But we're a decentralized blockchain. We don't have control over the tokens. The community will decide where they believe that it should go. And this is one of those things where this is a blockchain that you don't need to worry about the whims of a foundation. The community itself can put proposals in for marketing. Like, it's not just a builders that will receive the tokens. Pretty much all services will go through the actual grant process.
Okay. So regarding like a current traction, like current option, you are obviously on mainnet, so there are already some apps running, or maybe something to be launched soon. Maybe you can reveal like some metrics in terms of like how many apps you have, how many users you have on the mainnet, what are the most interesting applications which are running already.
So it's a great question. With caveat is we've been on mainnet for less than a week, so it's really hard to actually say, like, you know, there's a troll out there that sent a tweet towards the VOI community a couple of days ago, and we're pointing out that there's 0 transaction blocks happening. I had to point out this literally 3 days after the actual launch of the mainnet. Of course, there's going to be 0 transaction blocks. Every blockchain, even Algorand, had 0 transaction blocks up to it for an entire year. So the amount of on-chain traffic is not there yet because people are still migrating over to mainnet. But we have lots and lots of applications that people have built on testnet and are migrating over. So like some of my favorites will be the 2 dexes. You have Humble and Nomadex, two dexes that were actually built. Humble existed on Algorand first, but what a lot of people probably don't know, because we've actually switched to a new token primitive, the ARC200, which doesn't require opt-in. Humble had to actually be rebuilt to work with this new primitive, so it was pretty much built from scratch for VOI. And then Nomadex was built from scratch by a developer that goes by the name WebDev, which is a pretty generic name, but a great developer. And then we have the Kinesis wallet. That is an extension-based wallet that should be releasing the mobile version in the next couple of weeks. Knock on wood, they're in beta right now, closed beta right now. We have HighForge, which is an amazing launchpad, one of the best launchpads that I've seen for NFTs. Really easy to actually get up and going if you have an NFT project. And then we have Nautilus, which is the marketplace that has the ability to people can trade their NFTs. We have a rewards platform that tracks on-chain actions to reward the end users. This I'm really excited about because the project's built on top of us. We'll be able to use this rewards platform to incentivize people using their product through like a on-chain tracking. But lots and lots of things. Like all of these things also had lots of underlying infrastructure builds. Like we built a new ARC200 and ARC72, which is the new NFT primitive indexer to make it really easy to work with these assets. Yeah, so lots and lots of things.
Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, definitely. I mean, you are very early on mainnet, so that there is still time for migrations from all the builders from testnet to mainnet. And how many I mean, developers obviously these days are very important for blockchains. I think many chains are like far behind Ethereum. So, I mean, how do you approach that? I mean, are you leveraging? Do you see any synergies? The fact that you use Algorand virtual machine, are there any synergies there? Are you seeing like developers being interested in build or on VOI from Algorand? And how do you see this moving forward? Because I see a huge potential here. I mean, on one hand, it's a good thing. Like we have a fork which can attract builders. So I mean, it's good for the overall Algorand ecosystem, I guess. But I'm just curious, how do you attract developers to your ecosystem? Is it rather targeting like the Algorand ecosystems, or I mean, you've obviously built Reach before, so what's your strategy here for like long-term success of your VoIP network?
Yeah, so a lot of the developers that are building on VoI, I met them through Reach. They fell in love with Reach, met them, and that's why we got a lot of the originals. That being said, one of the things that I think is kind of bullshit is that you hear this all the time is like, how do we find the next 1 million developers, right? I think that yes, we would love 1 million developers building on VoI, but I don't think that's actually the true next step. We are a part in the industry that if we had 20 more developers that are actually passionate and building, they could build so much more. Like, so the one reason, so I'm in Colombia right now. One of the reasons I'm in Colombia is because I believe that the best way to attract developers is the less efficient hand-holding way. Meet developers where they are, tell them about the opportunity, and give them as much, the good ones, as much support and help that you possibly can, so that, you know, we can get 5, 10, 15, 20 developers that are actually passionate and devoted in their life to actually building these products. When you hear people talk about like how do we attract the next 1 million developers, they're literally going to hackathons and schools, and people are building nonsense applications that really aren't actually adding any value whatsoever. And what you really do need is the developers that actually care, that are building real things, and it is okay to be less efficient to attract them, and that's kind of what our focus is. In the next, before the end of the year, I'm going to be stopping in Uruguay and also Argentina, meeting the developers down there to personally handhold and instruct to, you know, get a few that truly believe.
Okay. Yeah, but on one hand you're right. On the other hand, developers are doing work as long as somebody is paying for this work, right? And they leave. Like I've heard like your story with Algorand. You've told it on for Daniel Recube. So I mean, Algorand was paying like a service fee for you to do the work. Then they stopped paying, so you had to think about the other way. So I mean, obviously.
So this goes back to, I think that I'm glad that you brought this up. This goes back to what I said earlier, is that when developers are mercenarial, you have to pay them, and then, or if you don't pay them, then they leave. What the fix to that is to actually make sure that the developers are actually owners. They are now actually have skin in the game to stay, that they have a real opportunity to make the change better, and they are no longer mercenarial because they are there because they're missionaries. They want to actually make things better, and that is the trick. Is that when you give them the amount of tokens and you don't give these big VCs huge buckets of tokens, they play a true part of the chain, and you no longer have to continuously pay them because they have incentive to make the chain better themselves.
Yeah, but I think like for many developers, they don't have necessarily this, business acumen to build in a way that it will generate profit for them. So as long as somebody is paying, they are building, but then other chain comes up with a grant budget or whatever, and they start building on the other chain, right? So I think there is something we are missing in this space to attract not only developers but developers with the entrepreneurship mindset.
I agree with that as well. That builders aren't entrepreneurs, or sometimes they are, but a lot of times they just know how to build. So that is why we structured our grant program the way that we did. Nobody can receive a build grant without getting a design grant first. And the reason we did that is that so many builders have an idea and they just want to start jumping in and building. A lot of times that's wrong. So all developers have to actually to get a build grant have to actually submit a full design portfolio. This is not just the design of the application, but the market research, the opportunity, how to actually make money with it, all of this stuff. And if they don't have the skill set to generate themselves, that's where the grant comes in. And we have partners that will help them with that side of things. So this allows them to be able to actually have the plan and also to build the products that truly are needed without just giving out money for people to build just to build.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, I obviously have my fingers crossed for what you are building, and as well as like developers to attract really the strongest one. So maybe coming back, like different question now. The user experience of, I mean, I'm happy with the user experience of Algorand. It's pretty fast and like cheap. Are there any, like for somebody who will be interacting with VOI and have used Algorand in the past, so are there any differences? So are you using different wallets? Will you feel the difference, or it's pretty much the same?
As of right now, it's pretty much the same. One of the things that we do have plans in the medium term is the thing that I call the VOI ID. The VOI ID, a lot of people think it's just ID, but really what it is a new wallet protocol that abstracts away multiple different things from the end user to actually make the user experience much better, to make it feel like you're using regular applications rather than using a blockchain. And we do this through account abstraction. We do this through a delegate system, so that's a wallet delegate system. So that's a single user will be able to actually have multiple wallets on multiple different applications, but they only have the ability to use certain tokens through permissions, even though their entire bucket of tokens is in a single wallet. And then plus on top of that, a fee delegation system, so that somebody can come into the user one of the applications without first purchasing VOI. So there's three things that we wanted to tackle with it, and that is one of the things that we're excited to actually build out eventually. We're just not there yet because we don't need to be. The key with actually building a blockchain is focusing on the near term to stack up, build a strong foundation, and then attack the new markets when they come.
Okay. So maybe regarding like the infrastructure of VOI, and like you said you have a grant program. So in terms of like builders, what are the short-term, mid-term needs? Like if there are people who are builders who like to engage and then do some things, like what's missing right now? Where do you need help?
Yeah. So there's a couple of applications out there that are still missing. One of them that comes to mind right away is we need a governance platform. We have right now a lot of the actual VOI governance is being done with pencils and papers to actually, and laws. We'd like to put that as much as we possibly can on the blockchain. So we need a developer to build that out. And we also are that's going to be open source and then provided to all of the projects built on top, because pretty much every project needs a governance system. So there's that. And the other one is like a namespace system to make it easy for people to remember their usernames. So those are the two development projects that come to mind right away. That's our infrastructure. There's a few things that are coming that are already being built by developers. Like one of them is a token distribution platform. It's not quite like the pump.fun, but it's more of like a true distribution system for people to launch a true utility token. So like there's actually a purchase portion, and then there's like, but yeah, there's a project that's already being built like that. So that's coming. But the other thing that I would recommend is that it doesn't just have to be builders that are submitting these grants. If any of your users are really good at marketing or believe that they can actually add value to the blockchain in any way, people can submit grants that way as well. For example, the Dorks, which is the first NFT project that really have like leaning in, they actually already submitted a grant because of all of the work that they do to bring users to VOI. So like this is not only for builders, it's really anybody that can actually add value to VOI.
Okay, sure, interesting. So maybe a closing question, like what are the long-term plans for VOI to kind of stay relevant? We also have many emerging chains, the space becomes cluttered. So how do you plan to stay like a relevant 5-10 years from now, if there are anything?
The main thing here is like, this is call back to what I said earlier. VOI is not a blockchain. VOI is an ecosystem of blockchains. we will always want to be the community. We want to be what blockchain is meant. We're supposed to be in the first place. We don't. We believe that when the large majority of tokens are locked up to a few entities, it breaks down the economics of blockchain and really isn't truly blockchain. So our plans are to continuously roll out new technologies, to adopt new chains, all under the VOI umbrella, to actually make it so that developers that come in can have a choice of their development platform. And we can always keep on, by using open source technology, keep using the best things out there, but still in a way that is economically incentivizes the actual ecosystem rather than just early builders, early stakeholders, early investors.
Okay, so maybe follow up a question to that, what you said with the ecosystem of blockchain. So I understand that it will be more blockchains like VOI. So is it that correct?
Like VOI. So VOI is the actual ecosystem blockchains. We will launch another blockchain underneath the VOI umbrella of economics. Okay. So like the next one that we most likely will launch in 6 months to a year will be an EVM chain. It will launch with similar like token distribution. We don't have this actually locked in exactly, but the idea is that the existing holders, it will work sort of like a stock split. So it's not a major inflation. It just gives the existing holders the opportunity to get a portion of that new chains token, and then the rest of it will be put into the governance treasury, so that can be distributed by the actual community itself. So the idea is that we will have a collection of blockchains, but a single economic model that is owned by the community.
Okay, that's interesting, but actually it multiplies the number of different chains, interconnections even further, right? So I understand you are probably a believer that there is like many chains interoperating with each other. Would that be correct?
I mean, I've been in tech for too long to believe that one type of technology can do everything. So I believe that your Solanas, your Algorands, your Swees of the world all have their place, their Cardanos of the world, where they all have strengths. And a developer should be able to choose which platform best satisfies their needs for what they're doing. They shouldn't have to be forced into a certain technology just because there's a certain grant program for a certain token. It should be open. The best technology should be used for the product that they are using, and that's really should be the be-all and all.
Okay. Yeah, to some extent, I agree. So maybe one more question. Any plans like between you and Algorand, like moving forward? I mean, obviously you use the similar like a tech stack. So I mean, are you planning any kind of interoperability or anything on the front with Algorand, or you are doing your own stuff totally like separate right now?
I mean, like I said earlier on in this recording, is that we believe making it the overall open source technology better. We don't have any intention to actually fork the technology and go in our own way. What I do believe that will happen in the near future is that entities like we're very friendly with Algorand. I talk to Algorand Foundation every other week with a standing meeting. And we also talk frequently with Algorand Technologies. We think that they're both great and they're both doing their own thing. We just want to be synergistic with them. We want to actually help make the actual technology better. And the grant programs are open for developers that want to make the underlying tech better. The only reason we would ever fork is if for some reason Algorand Technologies disagrees with the direction that we want to go with it. But I strongly don't believe that will ever be, because all the changes that we'd want to make, we want to push back to the underlying open source technology, because that's what open source is all about.
Okay, thank you, Chris. If there's anything else you'd like to share, like that's place to share it right now. I'm good with my all questions, so thanks for your feedback. If there's any like a call to action to community or anything, feel free.
Yeah, so I would, all of your listeners, I mean, You have .btc in your name, Andrzej. VOI's original belief is very similar to the idea of what Satoshi's original vision of what blockchain is supposed to be. That it's supposed to be community ran, it's supposed to be peer-to-peer, and this is just what VOI's answer is how to actually achieve that in the platform world. We believe that the community should own it, the community should participate, the community should decide the direction that should go. If you believe that you are a user that truly believes in blockchain, it's not trying to just flip coins and meme coins and everything, but actually truly believes in the potential of blockchain, and you want to actually have a home that you will be listened to, VOI is literally the only place for you. You don't need to worry about convincing a foundation. You don't need to worry about doing anything other than actually participating in the governance that has the full power of the direction of VOI. So yeah, I would say that any of your users that actually like to put in the work, that do believe in blockchain, VOI is the best solution for you. And so join our Discord, say hi, see all the activity in there. Our community is not very active on Twitter because crypto Twitter is a cesspool that's a lot of people don't like to actually talk in. But come in our Discord, you'll have a good time. Ask some questions, say hi. Get rained on by the GM token or the people recently are actually raining VOI tokens on people in the Discord that they're buying and then they're dropping in. So people are having a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'll provide links to Chris and to VOI for people who are interested to play with that. So thank you so much, Chris. That was a pleasure talking to you. Good luck with your project. Finger crossed for a successful future, and maybe we could reconnect a few months from now, maybe a year from now, see how things going.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.